Hey guys, it's Adam Levitan, and I am here at the FantasyLabs homepage. We have reached the point of the NBA season where everybody is just bitching. I mean, everybody just loves to complain. Oh, it's too hard. Players are getting scratched late. Coaches are doing weird things with their rotations. Wah. Shout out to the GOAT, Artie Lang. Used to give the wah a lot when he was on Stern. But anyways, I think that we should have an edge in these circumstances, and we just have to find them, right? Like the more weird things that are happening, the less straightforward things are, the more reward we should get for being a hard-working, thoughtful DFS player. And I have been fortunate or lucky or whatever to have some of my best months in the NBA in February and March. And I think it's a time where we need to use some feel. And, as an example, let's talk about D'Angelo Russell versus Ricky Rubio from Monday night, last night. I mean, D'Angelo Russell was certainly mispriced, at least on FanDuel. I mean, insanely cheap relative to his production. However, this was a team on a back-to-back. This was a team going on the road. This is a dead team that wants to get a look at the bottom of their roster versus a spot for Ricky Rubio, who was coming off rest, was facing a Wizards team that was at the tail end of a long road trip, 5-7 spot for the Wizards. The coach, Tom Thibodeau, has been employing an extremely tight playoff style rotation. And I mean, Ricky Rubio's performance since the Zach LaVine injury has been better. I mean, D'Angelo Russell's been great. Ricky Rubio has been better. So, I was shocked to see that Rubio came in at, 9, 10, 11%, whereas D'Angelo Russell was way up 35%, maybe even more. So I think there's some feel there, but there's also some data to back it up. And that's why I'm here at Labs to try to back some of this stuff that I feel about this time of year with data. So let's go to NBA. Let's go to our trends. Let's create a new trend. We'll call this late season safety. And we'll do it on DraftKings. And here we go. So our baseline for all players is a positive expectation, plus minus. Just plus minus, obviously, for you guys that are just new or just watching this, just simply means how many points players have scored versus their salary-based expectation. And obviously, if you're not adjusting your stats for salary, well, they're pretty meaningless because, of course, LeBron James is going to score more points than Maurice Harkless. But let's look at players who cost at least 6,000. So we get a feel for players who are solid, and then, or typically solid. And then let's talk about players who are playing in March, because that is the month that we were in. So we'll go to time filters, we'll go to month, and we'll sort this by March. All right, so here's our baseline. All players in March who cost at least 6,000 score 1.74 more DK points than their salary-based expectation. I think one of the first things I look at this time of year is a team on a back-to-back? And I really, really try to stay away from that. And it's for a few reasons. Yeah, players could be tired. But from a broader perspective, we just have less information. So a lot of the information that comes out before NBA games is from shoot-arounds. And shoot-arounds usually happen around 11 or 12 Eastern time, the day of a game. And when there's a back-to-back, teams don't hold shoot-arounds. There's no information. There's no media availability, right? Like reporters have access to the team and to the coaches anytime there's a shoot-around, anytime there's a practice, anytime there's a game. But if there's no shoot-around and there's no practice, well, there's no information. And so maybe if the Lakers weren't on a back-to-back on Monday night, then we would have gotten something from Luke Walton that said, hey, I'm thinking about starting Jordan Clarkson tonight. He probably would have said something like that. So I really try to stay away from back-to-back. So we're in March. Players cost at least 6,000. Let's look at our back-to-back function here. And the second half away, this just means the first leg away, first leg home, second leg away, second leg home. And you can see the one that sticks out here, the one that just sticks out like a sore thumb, is the second leg of a back-to-back, and they're away. Big-time negative expectations. So, I mean, we go all the way from plus 1.74 down to negative 0.12. And that may not sound a lot, but we're just taking the worst of it. And you can see under past results here, this is last night. You can go all the way back here, but just the most recent games, Randall underperformed, Russell underperformed, et cetera, et cetera. So, and I think it's also just to wrap that up, back to backs for sure scare me. Back to back road games for sure scare me. Just a lack of information. The other thing that I am placing an emphasis on at this time of year, I'm going to remove that back to back. So another big thing I'm placing an emphasis on at this time of year is home games. And for whatever reason, um, players always play better at home. But I think you can see here if we sort by month. Oh, we're in March. I'm sorry. If we sort by home, team filters, home, or visitor, we have a massive gap here. So we're sorted by March, and then we have a massive gap here between home and visitor. Why is that? Well, maybe teams are tired, and they have extra energy at home in front of their home fans. I think typically coaches try to win more at home. Like we saw that here with the Sixers, where they would play Joel Embiid more and typically or sometimes extend his minutes a bit when they were at home. Played him in that Rockets game when they shouldn't have when they were at home. So I think coaches try to win games harder at home, and you can see that maybe by playing their best players more, giving extra minutes to some of their best players. So home versus road split when the month is March for sure. So we can add that in here. Home team, it's March. Now we're up to 2.60. Let's continue to build this trend and see kind of from a field perspective what we're looking for and back it up with data. So the game is in March. The player cost is 6,000. The game is at home. Let's go to time between games, days between games. Obviously, one here represents back-to-back. So if you have 1-to-1 here, well, we got a problem. 1-to-1. We go all the way down to 0.93. Now, let's give people at least 1 day of rest. So let's go up to 2. Oh, now we're all the way up to plus 2.87 in the plus minus. Huge, huge difference. So, day off, teams at home when the game is in March for players that cost at least 6,000 has a pretty positive expectation. I think that is kind of when I go into a slate, these are kind of the spots that I'm looking for generally. Now, let's keep going further. Let's say we want to keep testing. Let's say that we want our team that's playing at home to have a winning percentage of, let's say, at least 40, because we want teams that are in it. They're not giving Ivica Zubac minutes just to see how he looks. They're not playing. They're not sitting down Ty Lawson so they can see how Buddy Hield looks in 35 minutes. Like, we're getting cleaner rotations from teams that are in the playoff hunt, so we can represent that by a winning percentage of at least 40. So here we stick the same. And let's tell you maybe if they are playing another good team. We want these games where both teams have a lot to play for. I think the Tuesday night, the game later tonight between the Blazers and the Pelicans is an example of two teams that have a lot to play for, should get clean rotations, should get playoff style rotations, won't see surprises from the coaches with players. So let's get our opponent's winning percentage up to 42. All right, so we're still up at 0.287 here. Let's talk about maybe division versus non-division, see how that goes. All right, so division gives us a little bit of a boost. Moving up a little bit more here. So, you can keep playing around with these filters here. And basically, this is the way I like to do it with trends, is kind of think about these narratives in my head. Hey, it's March. I want to use home teams. I want to use teams that aren't on a back-to-back. I want to use teams that are relatively well-rested, teams that have something to play for, teams in the playoff hunt, maybe teams in division games. So all these factors kind of come into play in my head, and I can go back and test them. There's a million other things you can test here on Labs, and I encourage you to go through, create your own trends, and test them. And of course, you can go to your current matches, sort by date, and you'll find guys that fit tonight. So for this trend I built here tonight, Tuesday night, Kyrie fits, and Braun fits. Those are the only two fits for tonight. All right. That's just generally speaking some late season strategy for me. How to use the trends tool to back up narratives on Labs. If you have any questions at any time, you can email me ajl201@yahoo.com. For Jerry, I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.